Welcome back, everybody. Just sitting down to do another quick video. Today I'm going to cover ammo tracking in Roll20. Ammo tracking is just a way to be able to see when a character fires a weapon or uses a certain ability that has a limited pool of resources or ammunition. Basically, you could just have the computer keep track of that instead of the players or the DM keeping track of it on paper, and it really makes the game a lot smoother and has a lot of problems for arguments and things like that. Before we get started, basically, just should point out that ammo tracking is part of API. API is a feature for the premium account of Roll20. There's two different premium accounts. Normally you can just go on, you can use it for free. There's one premium account for $5 a month, and then there's a second one for, I think it's $10 a month or $9.99 or something, and that is the one that you need for API. So you have to be on the premium account to use it, but if you have that set up already, you start over here at your campaign screen basically, and here's the game that I have made. Here are my players, and over here are my various tools that I can use. So what I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to select API scripts. So you have to have the API first. Once you do that, you're going to go into Roll20 API script library, and you're going to scroll down to system tools. Alright, let's see. Alright, so we have system tools. Now, right around here, you should see 5th edition OGL Roll20 Companion. Obviously, it's not here right now. The reason for that is that I have it already installed on my game right here. But if it's not installed in your game already, it'll be right here. It'll say 5th edition OGL Roll20 Companion, and then there's usually, I think there's a button that you can click here to select it. Once you've had it selected, you're going to go over here to your 5th edition OGL Roll20 Companion, and you're going to make sure you have the latest version. After that, you're going to have a button here. This one says disable scripts. You're going to hit enable scripts, and you're going to do save scripts, and that's all you need to do over here. After that, you can close out of that and go into your game. Once you've done that, you need to set up ammo tracking for each player. And you can talk to your players through this at once. It's not too difficult. There's a player character sheet for 5th edition. If you click over here to the options icon, you'll see the options for the character. And on this side, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you can see ammo tracking. And it's gonna say off. You just want to make sure it's switched to on. Once you've done that, ammo tracking will be enabled, and you just need to set it up for each weapon. Although not quite for each weapon, more for each piece of ammunition. So normally when a character selects a ranged weapon to start with, they will have ammunition automatically selected. But if they don't, not a big deal. You just go into your compendium, you just type in arrows, and then you could just literally just drag arrow onto their character sheet, and it'll populate it in there. Once you've done that, you can click on this little icon right here to the far right of arrows, and make sure it's selected to equipped. And if you select use as resource, it'll appear up here in player resources. And then you could just close that. Also make sure that it has an assigned weight. You can just look up what the weights of things are. So now arrows are in my player's inventory. Arrows are in my player's resources. It's an equal number. It's basically 19 for 19 over here. And then I'm going to go into the weapon that's actually firing these arrows. And this works for any weapon firing the same piece of ammunition. So if I have a short bow, a long bow, anything that fires arrows, this will work for. But if I choose something like a crossbow, I will need to set up a second. I will need a second resource for crossbow bolts. So let's open up short bow, and down here there's a new box that isn't normally there called ammunition. And then you just got to make sure you have the name of your ammunition here. This dialog will pop up afterwards, but you don't need to worry about it. That's perfectly fine. The last thing you need to make sure is that all 3 names match exactly. This isn't really a big problem because for the most part you just copy paste between locations. So if, for example, I just copy from here and paste here, and now obviously that extra dialog isn't here anymore. It'll pop up again later, but you don't need to worry about that. Doesn't affect the game. So now I'm going to close it. And if I go to my chat dialog box over here, I'm going to select short bow to fire, and about a second after the short bow fires, a little box will show up explaining how much ammo I have left, and it should go down from 19 to 18 in all locations. Alright, there you go. So the short bow fired, and I have 18 arrows left. The arrow resource was updated, as well as the arrows in the inventory, and if you were noticing it over here, even the weight that the character is carrying has gone down if you're using encumbrance tracking. So that's pretty useful. And like I said before, if I'm using a different resource like crossbow, I would have crossbow bolts here. I would have a third box over here with crossbow bolts, and then I'd copy paste crossbow bolts into my crossbow. The last thing I just want to mention real quick is that you can also use this to track other player resources that aren't necessarily like physical things. Like, for example, if a player has a resource like Rage for the Barbarian, you can basically do the same thing. You would just open up a little box here by clicking the plus icon. You'd add Rage. Let me just do it real quick. You might add Rage real quick. And then, real important, you want to put a 0 down because it's not a physical thing. It doesn't have an actual weight. And you want to go to Use as a Resource. And this will populate Rage up here. And then if you wanted to make an attack for Rage, you would just go over here. And you would copy paste Rage and put it into ammunition. Now, if you have a Barbarian who wants to Rage, you can just have them click on this button, and the amount of rages that they have left will go down. And usually resources like this that you don't have a lot of, it's not a big deal to keep track of them, but what I've found in my experience is that this really helps to cut down on arguments between players and the DM. So I like that a lot. If anyone ever if anyone ever gets upset that you're saying they have fewer rages than they have, you could just go to the chat box here, copy, you could just do Control F, search for Rage, and you can literally see, and you can turn on timestamps if you want in Roll20, you can literally see on what day and what time they actually used a Rage because it's being tracked in the system, and I find that very useful. And I think that's going to be it for ammo tracking. Thank you for watching.